I'm Kelly Watson. In the beginning, my marriage was great. We lived in a fancy apartment in New York with a fantastic view. My husband, Tom, seemed perfect. However, I later found out he was consistently cheating on me. Every time I confronted him, he denied it, but the evidence kept popping up. I thought it might be some kind of problem he had, so I didn't immediately consider divorce, especially since I was pregnant. I hoped things would change after our child was born, but Tom's infidelity persisted. I felt stuck for the sake of our child. I convinced myself it was his illness, and I should endure it. After 7 years, Tom boldly introduced another woman as his lover and declared he wanted a divorce. It hit me harder than before because I had convinced myself his previous affairs were just flings. I tried to reason with him, bringing up our child, but he insisted on the divorce. He claimed our child was his but didn't seem to care much. Eventually, I received the divorce papers, thinking it was the end. I continued living in the apartment with my child. Then, unexpectedly, I got a message from Tom's lover, Mirabelle. She told me to leave the high-rise apartment because it was meant for her and Tom. She insulted me, calling me a single, broke mother who should find a more suitable place to live. She gave me a month to move out. I was left stunned, wondering how things had become so complicated. If Tom found out about this, we hadn't even settled alimony or child support, yet she had the audacity to tell me to leave. She wasn't considering our child at all. Feeling utterly helpless, I stood in my house, struggling to reassure my anxious child that everything would be okay. Maybe I should start packing. I headed to the bedroom, recalling Tom's kind face from the early days of our marriage. Our life in the New York high-rise felt like a dream back then, thanks to his kindness. However, at some point, his attitude began to change. I had envisioned family trips and weekend drives after our child was born, but I couldn't even remember what we had actually done together. Instead, all I could think of was the pain when I first found out about Tom's cheating. Tearing up all his clothes changed nothing. We used to visit our parents' houses, but after our child was born, it was just me and the kid. Tom never joined us. I had to lie desperately for him, creating the image of a kind, hard-working father for our child. But it was all in vain. He never appreciated it. Instead, he laughed with that woman. Maybe I should have divorced sooner. Enduring all this seemed pointless. What was the point of these 7 years? Tears flowed, and I felt helpless. By not acknowledging his love, I had given Tom a justification for his cheating. He cheated because I didn't love him. That was his reasoning. I had merely given him an excuse to run away. How foolish. Maybe I was just finding excuses to not leave for our child. But can I really end everything now? I'm the one who suffered. If I let it end without doing anything, only Tom and that woman will be happy. Is that okay? I stopped packing. This can't be the end. If I'm just going to cry, I can do that anytime. So I'll get my revenge. I'll make them realize. With that thought, I grabbed my smartphone. Later, Tom and Mirabelle barged in, expressing impatience with my packing progress. Mirabelle accused me of being slow, questioning what I had been doing for an entire month. Tom, holding Mirabelle close, as if to flaunt their relationship, casually announced with a smile that they had gotten married. He added, "We're super in love now." Oh, congratulations. Jealous, huh? A new wife is always better, right? I sarcastically questioned if that was the only reason they came, to which Mirabelle clarified that they were there to check on my moving progress, as they planned to move in once I left. She instructed me to clean up and even suggested renovating the place for them. When they asked about my departure, pointing out that the 1-month deadline had passed, I assured them that I would take everything with me. As they scrutinized the belongings, Mirabelle noticed a vase and speculated on its value. Tom claimed that everything in the house, including the vase, belonged to him. I questioned if everything, even personal items, were his. Mirabelle asserted that everything was indeed Tom's, warning me not to steal anything. She believed that even if some items were fake, they could fetch a price. Tom bragged about the authenticity of the items, stating that they were all real and valuable. Mirabelle expressed her intent to sell everything. I raised doubts about Tom's interest in art and his ability to understand their value. Mirabelle defended Tom, claiming he asserted ownership of everything in the house, including valuable vases and paintings. I found it suspicious, given Tom's lack of interest in art, and suggested that I might be getting fooled. I'm not being deceived. He's a wealthy man. He could collect these items even without understanding their value. They might appreciate in the future, right, Tom? Tom awkwardly agreed, affirming his wealth. I had no idea. You divorced a wealthy man. Divorce was a mistake for you. Really? You divorced him. And now you're poor. Did he really have money? Of course, that's why we could live in this high-rise. I'm married to a wealthy man now. So for this past month, he's been letting you live in luxury. Well, we just divorced, so there's no money yet. But things will go back to normal soon. Why no money after the divorce? I haven't even received alimony or child support yet. Well, maybe there's some cash tied up elsewhere. Optimistic, aren't you? What about his job? What does your wealthy husband do? He must be really busy, right? He's taking time off for our new home. Off work for a new home? How interesting. He's kind because he wouldn't let me move alone, so he took time off. Moving could be done by professionals, but you choose to do it yourselves. Tough, isn't it? That's no, Mirabelle. It's important to handle important things ourselves, whether small or big. We believe in doing it ourselves. Yet when it was my turn, everything was left to professionals. And moving doesn't take a month. Why not just work? You don't need to worry about us. He knows what he's doing. And you shouldn't interfere with his work. Well, if you think so, that's right. Just because you were dumped, don't meddle. Once you're out, we'll move in and enjoy a comfortable life. We'll see how that goes. Something feels off here, right? Then the doorbell rang. When I checked the intercom, it was the movers I had requested. However, they were wearing suits, clearly not typical movers. As I let them into the house, the man pulled out a calculator and started pricing each item. Wait, they aren't movers. Movers don't usually show up in suits, do they? What's going on? Why is he putting tags on the base? He's an antique and art dealer, here to appraise and possibly buy these items. While he's at it, he's valuing the apartment too. Why are you doing this? Why don't you ask your beloved husband, Tom? I doubt he'll tell the truth, though. I questioned Tom about the situation, and he'd apologized, claiming he didn't know why she was doing this. You knew she was going to sell these. Call the dealer so you could get a cut from the sale. No way. I exclaimed. Then why? All of this is yours. You can't just sell it. Mirabelle explained. Well, actually, I bought all these things, but I can't keep them all in my new place, so I thought, why not sell them? Oh, I see. Property division, right? You're selling these because you divorced him and want to split the money. I don't want to give you half, but if it's property division, I guess I have to. Tom's wealthy anyway, so even if you get half, it won't bother him. I declared that I had no intention of splitting it, as all the artworks were bought by me before I married Tom, so there was no need for property division. No way, then leave them. This apartment is his. You should leave them here. Mirabelle nervously watched as more tags were placed. I found it amusing, wondering what Tom was thinking, as he remained silent. There'll be nothing left in the house, but they're all mine, so that's how it goes, Mirabelle. We're not losing the high-rise, no need to panic. But don't worry, I'll buy you whatever you want. If you can afford it, why not? Once the appraiser finished, he announced to me that the total value was over $1 million, as expected. Thank you for your hard work. When will you be able to collect everything? He replied that it would be in a day or two and left. In a day or two, these artworks would be gone, and I'd have to leave this apartment too. It meant tomorrow or the day after, so we could move by then. Yes, that's the plan. It'll feel empty without everything. But it means we can decorate with things we like. Mirabelle seemed to misunderstand something, and I warned her that if she didn't leave soon, she'd be forced out. Confused, she asked why, and I revealed, I just sold this high-rise. Why isn't this apartment Tom's? Why would you sell it, Tom? Why did you sell it? This apartment is ours. You're both mistaken. Do you know when we started living here? Right after we got married, right? The question is, when was it purchased? Right after we got married. Do you remember buying it? No, I think it was already there when we got married. I clarified. Exactly. I bought this apartment with my money before we got married. What do you mean? So when he said he wanted to live in a high-rise, I bought it. Now that we're divorced, it's up to me whether I keep living here or sell it. So you sold it? Yes, you told me to leave. And I don't want to stay in a place I lived with him. It's the perfect timing. I'm planning to move to a house I just signed for a new house and have already moved my things in. You bought a house? Yes, it was cheap. Only about $1.6 million. $1.6 million. So Tom's stuff is just the junk in the next room. Take it with you. It's a hassle to dispose of junk. Mirabelle rushed into the next room, finding several cardboard boxes. She hurriedly opened them, only to find actual junk. The clothes were mostly worn out. What is this? Tom's clothes? Why are they like this? I didn't throw them away because he said not to. A wealthy man wearing these ragged clothes? I wanted to let you keep dreaming until the end, but it seems that's not possible. What do you mean? He's not wealthy at all, just a poor guy. No way, just a pile of garbage. That's harsh. It's not a pile of garbage. These clothes are still wearable. Why? I thought he worked for a major corporation. He said he was the president. He was a temp worker at a big company. No way, a temp worker. Yep, and he got laid off right when you two got married. Why? How do you know this? Even I, his wife, didn't know because I'm the president of that company. I thought I might make him a regular employee if our marriage continued, but he never took his job seriously since he knew I was the boss. So I just kept him as a temp. I knew he couldn't afford a high-rise apartment on a temp salary, but since I have a high income as the president, I thought it was fine. He didn't tell anyone at work that his wife was the boss. It was convenient for both of us, especially since he didn't want people to know I was his wife while he was cheating. So what will happen to Tom now? His contract is over. He was supposed to have one more month, but he's been absent without leave, so it's over. I thought he was wealthy. The wealthy one is me. So you were deceiving me? Not really. If Kelly hadn't divorced, I'd still be a wealthy man by marriage. But Mirabelle wanted a divorce, so I agreed. And with that, I'm out of the wealthy bracket. So because his wife was wealthy, he's penniless. Yep, a super poor person. Yep, if you knew that, why did you sell the art? Because I can't keep them in my new house. You could have left them. That's not how it works. Everything here is mine. There's nothing here that belongs to you two. I'm just disposing of my own stuff. Tom, do something. I concluded, well, that's how it is. Nothing. We can do it. You're saying this to me. This is his high rise, right? Say it is. It's not his high rise. It's the high rise I lived in with him. But I lived here too. I should have some right to stay. Oh, right. If he has the right to live here, we don't have to leave. Residency rights apply to rented properties. This is not a rental. I bought it in full before we got married. You left a month ago. You haven't lived here for a month. Where's the residency right in that then? Property division, I told you earlier. This apartment isn't a jointly acquired asset. It was bought by me before we got married. There's nothing to divide with you. You're penniless, and there's nothing I can do about it. Damn it! I thought we bought everything together. You never had that kind of money. You should take a good look at yourself. Tom seemed frustrated, trying to get something out of me. But with Tom's meager salary, there was no way he could afford anything, let alone own the apartment. Having faced this reality, the two of them left dejectedly. After a while, Tom contacted me again, asking where I was and admitting that he was out of money. I responded that it's none of his business where I live. Yeah, but I'm actually out of money. I know that already. What's your point? Tom explained that Mirabelle was blaming him for being broke, and his temp job had ended, leaving him unemployed. He asked if I could hire him at my company. I rejected the idea, stating that hiring my ex-husband was absurd. Tom mentioned that Mirabelle suggested it, thinking he'd be paid well as my ex-husband and the CEO of a large corporation. I found it ridiculous and pointed out that both Tom and Mirabelle were out of their minds. Tom pleaded for help, admitting that marrying Mirabelle was a mistake. He complained about not getting an allowance and asked for employment. I refused, stating that if I were to hire someone, it would be someone who actually works. Tom promised to work hard and even offered to write a pledge. I dismissed the idea, stating that even if he wrote a pledge, it wouldn't mean anything coming from him. Tom continued to plead, citing Mirabelle's potential anger if he didn't get a job. I remained firm, asserting that it wasn't my problem, and Tom had chosen his path. Tom expressed regret about his marriage to Mirabelle, revealing that she had a lot of debt and was on the blacklist of payday lenders. Surprised, I questioned why Mirabelle borrowed from such places, and Tom explained that she couldn't borrow from reputable sources as she never paid back. He revealed her intense obsession with money, particularly with keeping vases and paintings. Tom disclosed the significant amount she had borrowed, leading to a snowball effect of accumulating interest by borrowing from one place to pay another. It's quite impressive making snowballs without any snow. This is the worst. What should I do? Well, since she borrowed it, it's not my problem. The responsibility to pay it back is hers. So if I divorce her, I won't be affected. That's unlikely. Why? Why do you think she married you? Because I'm handsome? There are other handsome men out there. She thought you were wealthy. She thought marrying a wealthy man would erase her debts. Turns out you're broke. If she lets you go now, she'll have to pay back everything herself. She won't let you go. That's ridiculous. So that's why she's always talking about money. Maybe so. I'm basically working for her now. Looks like it. This is too much. Well, you made your bed. You betrayed me and our child. Mirabelle probably thought you'd be quiet about her cheating, just like you were with me, but fairy tales don't happen that often. I've been tricked. It's like the fox and the raccoon tricking each other. Fox and raccoon. Yes, both of you were deceiving each other. What if some scary people come to collect the debts? That might happen. You should be prepared for that. No way, Kelly. Please help me. Hire me with a high salary. No way. You're not worth a high salary. You can't do anything. Don't say that. I'll really work hard this time. If not, lend me money for a divorce lawyer. Don't joke. If you want to talk about that, first pay the alimony and child support. Later, Tom, cut off from income, was constantly nagged by Mirabelle to work, but used to a life with me. He despised working. The thought of all his hard-earned money going to Mirabelle's debts made him not want to work, even joking that working would mean losing. They fought every day, but without money, they couldn't live. Tom borrowed money and tried to increase it through gambling, falling into a vicious cycle. Realizing this wasn't working, he finally found a part-time job. However, his naive attitude led to quitting every time a high school senior or an older woman employee scolded him, making no money at all. Meanwhile, Mirabelle racked up more debts, substantial amounts, before Tom even found out about it. She had disappeared without a trace. It turns out that the reason for the debt was to pay off her own debts, and she had borrowed the money under Tom's name. Tom, overwhelmed by the ballooning debt, apparently complained that he wasn't the one who borrowed the money. However, the lenders, being from the more dangerous side of money lending, just yelled at him, saying, "We don't care." And that was the end of it. He had to pay no matter what and came to me begging, but I refused. I haven't seen him since then, and no one knows what became of him. As for me, I got tired of high-rise living and bought a house, now enjoying harvesting in the home garden with my daughter. Seeing her happy face, I feel confident that divorcing was the right decision.
I get what you're trying to say. You got married because of money, right? Don't talk nonsense. It's pretty clear, right? You're someone like me, a poor single mom. That's why you're still here even after your husband passed away. You're really annoying every day. I'm Mia, 35 years old, and I often hear snarky comments like this from Emma. My dad died when I was little, so my mom raised me on her own. Luckily, my mom kept working even after she got married again. So we weren't super poor, but we definitely weren't rich. Still, my mom was always happy and she worked hard for me. Because of that, I never really felt lonely growing up. I planned to start working right after high school, but my mom had been saving up for my college education. I really loved studying and wanted to go to college, but I didn't want to add more stress to my mom's life. She had worked hard to raise me, and I wanted to ease her burden. Then, when my mom suggested I go to college, I was thrilled. She got married at 23 and had me at 25. In my third year of high school, when she was 43 and still healthy and active, she told me to follow my dreams. She said she'd be more upset if I gave up on my future because of money worries. Her words moved me to tears. I took on a part-time job to help pay for tuition, and because of that, I graduated from college without needing student loans. After college, I got a job at a big company. I worked hard every day because I wanted to make life easier for my mom. Within 5 years of starting at the company, I got promoted to an administrative assistant and my salary went up. I was able to treat my mom to trips and buy her the massage chair she always wanted. 2 years later, my hard work paid off and I was promoted again, this time to executive assistant. During this time, I got to know the president's son, Ethan, and we started dating. Eventually, we got married. People would congratulate me and say, "Congratulations, Mia. Be happy." "Yes, thank you for everything," I said, deeply grateful, and my mom was moved to tears. She was incredibly happy for me, and it was a really joyful time. But that happiness didn't last long. Just 2 years into our marriage, my husband suddenly passed away. He collapsed at work, holding his chest, and was rushed to the hospital. But by the time I got there, he had already stopped breathing. That morning, I had watched him leave for work, saying goodbye tearfully. I never imagined such a terrible thing could happen. The shock was so intense that I could hardly speak. It was unimaginable that both my mom and I would lose our husbands. I could only imagine the pain of Benjamin, the president who had lost his only son. He looked so alone and devastated, just like me. I kept working even after I got married, and as the executive assistant, I spent a lot of time with the president, especially during the day, so I could see firsthand how sad he was. But there was one person who didn't seem to be grieving at all: Emma. Because we lived together after I got married, I quickly noticed her behavior. Actually, Emma wasn't related by blood to my husband. Benjamin's real mom died when he was just 3 years old. Knowing it would be hard for a man to raise a child alone, he remarried when Benjamin started elementary school, thanks to a friend's introduction. No, if something happens to my husband, all his property will be mine. What are you saying? Ethan is gone. Lighten up, it was just a joke. I thought a little cheer might help everyone in these gloomy times. Please think about the timing and situation. You must be upset that your plans didn't work out. Now you won't get any of our husband's money. I never expected to get anything from the beginning. Do you really think I would marry a man like Ethan, who doesn't say much, unless I was after something? Stop talking to me like that. He was irreplaceable. Emma seemed to think I would leave as soon as my husband passed away, but I didn't. Benjamin was acting strong at work, but I could see he was pushing himself too hard. So I couldn't leave the house to someone like Emma. Plus, even though we'd only been there for 2 years, our home was full of memories of my dear husband. I wanted to cherish those memories for a while. You can't just forget feelings. The time I spent with my husband was happy for me. My husband once told me that Emma was more like a roommate than a mother to him. She was often out, and when Benjamin was away on business, she wouldn't come home until late. But my husband didn't want to worry Benjamin, so he didn't say anything. Emma was kind when Benjamin was around, but her behavior changed drastically when he wasn't. It was like there were two Emmas. When Benjamin left for work, Emma would see him off with a smile. I'm counting on you to look after Ethan. Of course, Ethan is precious to me too. Knowing you're there for him lets me focus on my work. Don't worry, just do your best at work. Thank you. Have a good day. But as soon as he left and the door closed behind him, Emma's smile disappeared. Ah, finally, he's gone. Now, where should I go today? Maybe I'll invite a friend to the movies. You're going out again? Yes. Is that a problem? Oh no. Just remember not to bother your father with unnecessary things. He's working hard for you. If you say something, he'll worry and won't be able to concentrate. So just quietly study at home every day, okay? I understand that was their daily routine, and it seemed like Benjamin didn't mind it once he got used to it. In fact, he felt more comfortable when he wasn't paid too much attention. As a child, he saw Emma as more like his dad's wife than his mom. Benjamin was always grateful to Emma for helping out when he was small, which allowed his dad to focus on work. Benjamin's company was passed down from his step-grandfather, and he was really good at running it. Under his leadership, the company grew a lot. Now he's managing 5 businesses, each making millions of dollars every year. So Benjamin was always super busy. My husband used to tell me that when Benjamin was a kid, he hardly had time to relax at home. Seeing him tired from work every day, my husband didn't want to bother him with unnecessary stuff, like mentioning Emma. Plus, Benjamin didn't feel neglected, so there was no need to trouble him. He was okay keeping his concerns about Emma to himself. That's just how he was, laid back. He didn't seem like a typical heir to a big company. Did you ever get mad about it? Nah, not really. I was fine as long as she was home. It gave my dad peace of mind, and we always had plenty of snacks. My husband laughed it off, never making a big deal out of it. I love that about him. They weren't mean to me, they just didn't pay much attention to me. Sure, Emma would sometimes make snide comments, but I just brushed it off as typical mother-in-law stuff. She was often out doing her own thing, so we didn't see each other much, and her comments didn't really bother me. If my husband wasn't bothered by it, I didn't see a reason to bring it up. However, Emma's spending habits did bother me a bit, as I've always been thrifty. But since neither Benjamin nor my husband said anything, I kept my thoughts to myself. But after my husband passed away, seeing Emma splurging on luxuries while Benjamin was heartbroken made me uneasy. A man who was like a son to him had died, yet Emma showed no signs of grief, which made me even more upset. Emma, please try to support Benjamin. Even though he's acting okay, he's really feeling lonely, I pleaded. Why should I listen to you? What's your motive, huh? Trying to get into our family for inheritance? I never even thought about that. Well, Ethan's gone now, so why don't you just leave? I'm not leaving. Benjamin said I can stay as long as I need to. Emma gave me an annoyed look but didn't say anything else. She probably felt relieved knowing I wouldn't inherit Benjamin's wealth. But 3 years after my husband's death, Emma was getting more annoyed with me being around. Her sarcastic comments were getting more frequent and hurtful. Whether at home or work, I'm always with Benjamin. Emma seemed to think I was trying to manipulate him to get his money. It hurt to be seen that way, and I started questioning if it was right to stay in a house where my husband was no longer alive. I could feel the pressure of Benjamin's situation at work every day. Maybe it would be better for me to go back to living with my single mom instead of staying here and dealing with Emma's sarcasm. My mom is turning 60 this year, and last year marked the 3rd anniversary of my dad's passing. I had been thinking about my future when Benjamin suddenly collapsed. He was lucky to survive, but there was a good chance he would need care even after leaving the hospital. Things didn't immediately fall apart at the company when Benjamin collapsed because he had trained his successors well. However, I noticed a change in Emma's attitude. That man, God, he got what he deserved, she muttered. He's been so tight with money lately. What do you mean, tight with money? I asked. Our credit card limit has been reduced and our living expenses have been cut. Is the company in trouble? I don't think so, Emma, I replied. As it turned out, Emma missed her husband's 3rd anniversary ceremony last year because she was hungover from a wild night out, which Benjamin discovered when he checked the credit card bill. Even though Benjamin rarely checked Emma's spending, this time he did. Missing their son's memorial was too much, even for him. In his anger, Benjamin decided to limit the money Emma could spend. However, she still had enough for a normal life, so there was no need to complain. Benjamin himself mentioned that the company might be facing difficulties. Emma's absence affected him deeply, and before he realized it, things started to go downhill. I explained. Don't act clueless. You know it as well. All because we lost our only son. How does that justify jeopardizing the company? No, I honestly didn't, I replied, but Emma persisted. Even though he's not well, he plans to take it easy at home and live a long life. He's been telling people that the doctors said he could live to 100. That's reassuring. There's nothing good about it. If he lives that long needing care, it won't be a joke, Emma said, her nostrils flaring. Emma's angry rant about Benjamin calling him dull and annoying left me feeling uneasy. Who did she think had been paying for her extravagant lifestyle? Even if Benjamin's company was struggling, she could at least offer to help support him, I thought. And then Emma dropped another bombshell. So I've decided to divorce him. Pardon? Just think about it. The company might be in trouble. What if we end up in debt? It's smart to settle the property and leave before we run out of money. Are you going to leave Benjamin when he needs help? I can't handle taking care of an old man who's bedridden and broke. I'm going to take what I can before his will runs out and then say goodbye. Does that make sense to you? Emma's words, spoken as if she had a brilliant plan, filled me with disgust. However, just a week after our conversation, Benjamin's health took a sudden turn for the worse, and he passed away very quickly. He's gone too, I said, feeling overwhelmed. Just 3 years after my husband passed, everything seemed to go dark. I continued, my voice trembling. Benjamin's voice sounded so much like my husband's. Sometimes when we talked, it felt like I was talking to my husband again. Not being able to talk to him or hear his voice anymore was too much to bear. Oh, that man has gone to the afterlife. What perfect timing, Emma said, her voice almost gleeful. He still had assets left, right? His company didn't collapse yet. Maybe he died before getting into debt because of me. This means all remaining assets go to me. How fantastic. Emma's words, said with such heartlessness, made me furious. Even though Benjamin just passed away, all you can think about is money? I said, my voice shaking with anger. Ah, you caught on, huh? Well, tough luck for you. You're not getting any money from the family, Emma snapped back. I'd rather have Benjamin back alive than any money, I said, feeling tears welling up. Don't act all noble now. You're just putting on a show, trying to look strong for everyone, right? Even if you begged, there's not a penny to spare for you, Emma declared firmly. Even though Benjamin had passed away, it seemed like Emma cared more about money than anything else. It made me wonder how someone could be so cold-hearted. Thinking about it made me feel even more sorry for Benjamin, which just made my sadness worse. Fine then, you don't have to come to the funeral. Is that it? Only strangers are welcome, Emma said, her voice filled with scorn. I understand, that's how things are, I replied calmly, even though my heart was weighed down by sorrow. Emma didn't seem to grasp the reality of the situation, but I didn't feel like explaining it to her. Are you sure about that? Emma said sharply. Absolutely. Now that he's passed away, I, as his wife, am in charge, Emma declared with a sense of entitlement. So 2 days later, Benjamin's funeral took place quietly, with only close relatives present, honoring his wish for a simple ceremony. After the funeral, I noticed several missed calls from Emma on my phone, but I chose not to return them. Despite her attempts to reach me multiple times afterward, I decided to ignore her completely. Then one day, she unexpectedly showed up at my workplace. I finally caught you. Why haven't you been answering my calls? Emma demanded. Hola, Emma, how can I help you? I replied nervously. Still playing games. I got kicked out of the funeral home. You're the one who should have been excluded. I called you so many times on the day. What's going on? Well, you're not part of my family anymore, Emma. What? But you said only family could attend the funeral, so we had a family-only service. And then I asked Emma, who's now a stranger, not to come. No, the stranger here is you, Emma. What? When Benjamin got sick and was told he'd be bedridden, Emma served him with divorce papers. She probably thought since Benjamin was hospitalized, he couldn't file those papers. But I had already filed them, as Benjamin asked me to. So Emma is a stranger to us now, in name and in reality. Back then, Benjamin confided a lot in me. He told Emma that the company was in trouble and he might end up in debt. If that happened, they couldn't live their lavish lifestyle anymore. He suggested they live more modestly as a couple if Emma was willing to support him. But Emma coldly said, maybe it's better to split before you're in debt. 1 month later, Benjamin collapsed. Even after he woke up, he knew his health was bad. But he didn't tell Emma everything. He hinted that he might have to let go of the company and rely on her for care. Emma then suggested divorce. She probably wanted to divorce before he was seriously ill and get some money through a property settlement. But Benjamin, knowing his time was limited, had already donated most of his assets to charity and appointed new leaders for his companies, so there was hardly anything left for Emma. When he told her this, she was shocked. "So, I don't get anything." "Well, technically, it's not nothing. I left a few $100s in savings," I explained. "A few $100? That's hardly anything." Emma scoffed. Even though Benjamin had told me about this before, saying it out loud made me realize how determined he was. He probably didn't want to share any property with Emma. Maybe it was Emma's behavior after her husband's passing that made Benjamin so firm. "But there's still the house. If I sell that—" "Oh yes, please find somewhere else to live soon. I'm staying with Mom for now, but I'll move back eventually." "What are you talking about? You're practically a stranger. You have even less right to the house than I do. Like I said before, you're the stranger here, Emma, since you're already divorced. Plus, the house was originally inherited by Benjamin from his grandfather, so it's not considered for property division in a divorce." "Why do you think you have a right to live there?" "Because when I married Benjamin, we legally adopted each other." "What? So I have the right to inherit Benjamin's property? Benjamin left me that house. It's hard to believe, isn't it?" "The idea of adopting me came from Benjamin himself. When we got married, I didn't think much about it. I was going to be marrying his son, so in his eyes, I became his daughter. So I agreed to it. But after my husband passed away, I kept this information to myself. I was worried that if I mentioned it, Emma would accuse me of being interested in the family money. I have work to do. Could you please leave?" I told Emma that if she needed to communicate anything, she should do it through our lawyers. I had sought advice from our company's legal counsel. I called security and had Emma escorted out of the company premises. I made it clear she wasn't welcome back. Emma resisted, but when I threatened to call the police, she left quietly. After that, she tried to contact me many times, but I ignored her completely. Her attempts to claim our fortune only led to complaints to our lawyer. Our company wasn't going under, and Emma couldn't understand why. She argued that if it went bankrupt, there should be wealth to share. But the company had been handed over to a successor before Benjamin passed away, so there was nothing left for Emma to claim. As for the family's properties, they had already been settled in the divorce before Benjamin's death. Our lawyer patiently explained that Emma had no right to any of it. Our lawyer, somewhat frustrated, told us that Emma had been persistent. Emma had thought she was entitled to a share of the will and had recklessly run up debt on her credit card. Now she was stuck paying it off, working multiple part-time jobs from morning till night. However, her financial problems were not my concern. Emma was 10 years younger than Benjamin. They had married when she was 25, and now she was 55. They had been married for almost 30 years, so Emma was entitled to survivor benefits from Benjamin's Social Security taxes even after their divorce. However, she wouldn't get these benefits until she turned 60, which was still 5 years away. Plus, she needed to have filed a claim for a division of the pension within 2 years of the divorce. I wasn't sure if Emma knew this, nor did I intend to tell her. I felt no sympathy or obligation to worry about Emma's well-being. Now I live in a home I once shared with my mom, Benjamin, and my husband. My days pass calmly and peacefully. Sometimes I remember my husband and Benjamin and smile, and sometimes tears come, but remembering their warm smiles, I want to live each day with a smile on my face too. Help me find our daughter on this family hiking trip. Our 6-year-old daughter, Agnes, has gone missing, despite calling out her name repeatedly. There's no sign of her anywhere. It's your fault for taking your eyes off her. You go find her yourself. My husband, Zeke, coldly shoots back amidst the chaos and drives off alone. Wait, don't leave, I shout, chasing after the car. But my voice doesn't reach him. Left alone in the woods, I'm filled with dread about what will happen if I can't find Agnes. My name is Marley, and I'm 35. Agnes, who just turned 6, is a very kind and adorable daughter. Zeke, who usually dislikes family outings, had suddenly suggested going hiking the day before. Zeke, the same age as me, is domineering and doesn't listen to others, a trait that's always bothered me. I wasn't thrilled about the hike since my asthma had been acting up for the last 3 days. Clean air will cure your annoying asthma, Zeke decided without hearing our opinions. When did he start speaking to me so harshly? He was a kind person when we first got married. Is this how a couple end up after 8 years of marriage? On the day of the hike, we drove for about 2 hours to get to the mountain. Upon arrival, Agnes jumps for joy. Wow, look, Mom, I found these for you. She hands me acorns and pine cones she's collected. See, told you it would be good. Let's enjoy nature to the fullest. Yes, I'm glad Agnes is enjoying it. Although Zeke usually sleeps all day during his days off, today he's oddly excited, which feels a bit off. But I was happy that we could finally spend a normal family day. Let's go further in. The view is supposed to be amazing. After about 30 minutes of walking, I'm exhausted. Please, can we slow down a bit? If you don't keep up, we're leaving you behind. Come on, Mom, hurry up, they say as they get further and further away. I'm running low on stamina, and my throat starts making alarming noises as a cough sets in. Asthma here would be disastrous. Agnes is with Zeke, so she'll be fine. I should go at my own pace. Another 30 minutes later. I spot Zeke, but there's no sign of Agnes. Where's Agnes? She was with you, right? I ask urgently. Yeah, she was, but she wanted to explore further and ran off? Zeke replies casually. You let her go alone? I exclaim, my worry rising. She's too energetic for me to keep up with. If you're worried, go find her, Zeke retorts, pointing in the direction she went. The path he indicates is full of dense trees, and the trail isn't clear. I must find her quickly. This is dangerous. Agnes, where are you? Answer me, I desperately call out, but there's no response. About 20 minutes later, I return to where Zeke was, only to find him chatting with a young woman in her 20s. Where's Agnes? I ask anxiously. This lady just told me she saw a young girl walking towards the parking lot. I guess I'll go too, Zeke says, nonchalantly. No, you should keep looking in the woods, I urge him. Ignoring my plea, Zeke heads down the mountain with the woman, making their way to the parking lot. I search again in the direction Agnes went. It's eerily quiet, and I don't sense anyone around. Come to think of it, I've hardly seen anyone since we got here, except for that woman. What if I can't find her? Agnes, please answer me, I call out repeatedly, but my voice seems to get swallowed by the woods. Zeke isn't answering his phone, and I notice my cell has no service. Not knowing what else to do, I head back to the parking lot and find Zeke chatting with the woman. They're both smiling, so I assume Agnes must have been found. Where's Agnes? I inquire eagerly. Nope, she wasn't here, Zeke responds casually. What? Why are you so relaxed then? I can't help but express my frustration. Despite Agnes still being missing, Zeke was happily chatting with the young woman. I don't get why you're mad. Aren't you worried about Agnes? Let's look again together, I plead with Zeke. Enough. This is your fault for losing her. Go find her yourself. I'm going home, Zeke retorts, hopping into his car and driving off before I can protest. Wait, you can't be serious. I shout, but it's too late. He's already out of sight, and even when I call Zeke, he doesn't answer. He actually left us here. Before I know it, the young woman is also gone, and not a single car is left. What should I do now? The sun is setting, and it'll be dark soon. Thinking of how scared Agnes might be, I go back into the woods. But even after searching for over an hour, I hear nothing. The wheezing coming from the back of my throat is also getting stronger. I'm finding it hard to breathe. It's pointless looking alone. Finally, it hits me that I should call the police, but I can't get a signal. After a desperate search for a signal, I finally reach the police, only to learn that Agnes was safely found by a passerby. I hail a taxi to go get her. As soon as Agnes sees me, she runs to me, crying, Mom, thank God you're okay. Are you hurt? No, Mom. I was scared, Agnes says, comforting me. I'm so sorry, Agnes, I reply, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. But maybe it's the relief or maybe the stress, but I can't stop coughing. Agnes gently rubs my back. Mom, are you okay? Don't worry, we'll go to the hospital right away. I thank the police officer and we head to a nearby hospital for my asthma treatment. Luckily, it's not severe and I start feeling better after using the inhaler. But then, Agnes drops a bombshell. Mom, one of Dad's friends told me about a place full of beautiful flowers. I was with her, and the next thing I knew, I was alone. Wait, you didn't go exploring in the woods? I asked, alarmed. No, I wouldn't do that. Do you remember what this woman with Dad looked like? Agnes pulled out her toy camera and showed me a picture she'd taken. It was of a young woman Zeke had been with earlier, and they were snuggled up, clearly more than just friends. Could he be cheating? The shock made me feel dizzy and I crouched down right there. Mom, are you okay? Agnes asked, still worried. I'm fine, I said, still coughing. Seeing Agnes's worried face, I realized I couldn't give in now. He won't get away with this. I'm going to dig deep to keep Zeke from knowing my whereabouts, I resolved. I turned off my phone's location and decided to stay at my brother's nearby apartment. From that day on, my brother, Tin, who had recently moved in, would be my refuge. Zeke didn't know that our house was visible from there. However, Zeke's car wasn't home, and the house was dark and quiet. Where could he be? I took out my phone and called Zeke. What do you want? He snapped. How could you leave us behind? Because you're annoying. So, did you find Agnes? He asked curtly. Yes, she's safe, and my asthma's gotten bad, so I'm going to be hospitalized for about a week. Agnes will stay at my parents' house. Really? You sound almost happy about it. I'm glad Agnes is safe. Take care, he said, his tone insincere. My mistrust for Zeke, who was not only unapologetic but also blatantly lying, only deepened. He didn't even ask which hospital I was in. He's probably with her right now, planning something awful. I was burning with rage, but I had to wait until I saw the truth for myself. Finally, Zeke came home late at night and left for work at his usual time the next morning. In the meantime, I purchased a small security camera and installed it indoors. I could view its footage, including audio, directly on my phone. Now, I had Zeke under surveillance. That night, the woman I saw in the mountains walked into our house, and they started having dinner while drinking wine in the living room. Seeing them get touchy-feely made me nauseous. It was a good idea to take advantage of my wife's sickness and take her to the mountain. This 1 week she's in the hospital will be heaven. You were so clever, boss, the woman praised. Right now, we can relax without anyone disturbing us. It's not comfortable being together at work, but you always say the thrill makes it better, Zeke replied. True to his words, it seems his affair partner is a subordinate at his workplace. They even seem to be doing something suspicious at work. I can't believe this. Absolutely unforgivable. They were laughing happily, hugging each other. Now is my chance to catch them in the act. I left my brother's house quietly and approached mine. Confirming they were in the middle of it all, I started recording on my phone. Then I opened the door with a loud noise. Well, aren't we lively? I said coldly. Why are you here? You're supposed to be in the hospital. Zeke stuttered, caught off guard. Ow, 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 the woman cried out. They couldn't even separate. Helpless, pathetic. Please call an ambulance, I urged. Sirens wailed, and a crowd gathered outside our home because Zeke and the woman were screaming so loudly. Covered only with bedsheets, they were loaded into the ambulance as his wife. I followed them to the hospital, and not long after arriving and receiving medical attention, Zeke and his mistress were released. The doctor said they were free to go, so the two of them were shivering on a hospital bench, wrapped only in sheets as they had no clothes. This was just pathetic. When did you get out of the hospital? I was never admitted in the first place, Zeke admitted. I've been keeping tabs on you, you know. What? How? He asked, bewildered. From my brother's new apartment. It has a clear view of our house, I explained, feeling a mix of exhaustion and frustration. I sighed and handed them hospital pajamas I borrowed from the nurse's station. I couldn't bear to watch their disgrace any longer. They hurriedly put on the pajamas. So, how long has this been going on? I demanded. You got it all wrong. She just came to drop off some work documents. Zeke insisted. Oh, really? I retorted, showing Zeke the picture Agnes took. This is you. You left Agnes alone in the mountains just to get cozy with her, didn't you? That's not true. She was gone when I realized it. Zeke tried to play dumb, but I wasn't buying it. I replayed the conversation I heard between them in the living room. Both Zeke and the woman were clearly shaken. Still going to deny it? I asked, my anger simmering. Well, about that. I can't believe you waited for me to be away to meet up with her. What's wrong with you? I snapped, feeling a mix of betrayal and hurt. Look who's talking. You're the one spying on me, Zeke countered, trying to deflect blame. Can you say that after leaving our sick child and me alone in the mountains? I retorted, feeling my patience wearing thin. Seeing Zeke's lack of remorse, I could feel my feelings for him dwindling away. I'll never forgive you for putting Agnes in danger. Let's get a divorce. Divorce? Why? Zeke asked, taken aback. How can you even ask that? If you're so well matched with her, then just go be with her, I retorted, glaring at the woman sitting next to me. She glared back, attempting to intertwine her arm with Zeke's. However, Zeke shook off her arm and grabbed my hand. I was just messing around with her. I never intended to ruin her family, and to be honest, it was painful and awful. So, I'm breaking up with her, Zeke explained. The woman's face contorted like a demon's. She slapped Zeke across the face. Are you kidding me? What are you saying? Enough. I'm tired of women who are only younger. That's cruel. You said you'd marry me after you divorce, the woman accused, her voice rising in anger. Watching their quarrel unfold, I was beyond disgusted. Both a woman who knew he was married and Zeke, who would surely repeat this behavior, were to blame. Cut it out. This is a hospital. Keep it down, I scolded. Finally, both quieted down at my scolding. It seemed like they both needed a heavy dose of self-reflection. You better prepare yourself. I'm reporting you to the police for abandoning me and our young daughter in the mountains. When I was sick, what is that, a crime? Zeke exclaimed defensively. Of course it is, yikes. Please give me a break. Just forget the police, I interjected, feeling exasperated. Both suddenly backtracked, looking up at me apologetically. Although they were saying sorry, their hearts weren't in it. I bet that's not all I want. The house sold for the division of property and $30,000 for infidelity compensation. Don't forget the child support for Agnes, I demanded. Please forgive me, I'm sorry, Zeke pleaded, while the woman who laid hands on him owed me $30,000 and damages as well. We can't afford that. Not my problem. You'll have to take out loans, I retorted, feeling a mix of anger and resolve. Oh God, if you've learned anything, stay away from men with families. Got it? Please rethink this. Zeke suddenly bowed down to the floor in apology, and the woman hastily followed suit. What is there to rethink now? I looked down on both of them with disdain. No way. I'll inform your company about this as well. Goodbye. This is the worst. I left Zeke and his affair partner yelling and immediately went to the police to file a report. Soon after, they were both arrested for abandonment charges related to me and my daughter Agnes. According to my lawyer, it's going to be a pretty serious offense for them. Zeke and his mistress lost their jobs as a result. I finalized the divorce and made them pay the affair settlement and child support in one lump sum. With the money from selling our house, I was even able to get a settlement from the mistress paid from her severance package. As I was considering moving out of the apartment, Tan, who had been so helpful, said, I worry about you and Agnes living on your own. Why don't you stay here with me? Taking him up on his kind offer, now happily spending each day with my loving daughter and beloved brother. Perhaps because my stress has gone down, my asthma attacks have also stopped, and I'm feeling great now.